What's up everyone, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. Today we're taking a look at Karumonix the Rat King. I've named this deck Turbo Rats because we're just trying to do one thing, cast every single rat in our deck as fast as possible. And we're going to be willing to sacrifice anything to get there. Our life total, our commander, yes, and even our beloved rats. So without further ado, let's get into this. Alright, we are definitely running a ton of rat colonies. So let's make them free. Our first obstacle is that disgusting generic pip. So let's get rid of it with Herald's Horn. Not only is this going to let us look for some additional rats, but it's going to get rid of that generic pip. Jet Medallion. It's just a classic. And finally we have Bantu's Monument. This one's going to be really good because when we're storming off casting a bunch of rats, it's going to drain our opponents and net us some life. And that life's going to be really useful because to get rid of the black pip, we're going to have to pay. Defiler of Flesh is going to let us get rid of it by paying 2 life. Crick, Son of Yawgmoth, same thing, we can pay 2 life to get rid of that black pip. Carnival of Souls, whenever a creature enters the battlefield, we're going to go ahead and lose a life and then add a black to our mana pool. This is going to effectively make all of our rats free. Now, that's all good and fun, but how do we get all these rats? Well, that's where the turbo part of this comes in. Our commander. We can go ahead and blink the shit out of him, reanimate the shit out of him, and just keep running him through the battlefield just to get all of our rats into our hand. We can use cards like Cloudstone Curial. This one's pretty simple. Cast a rat, return the commander, cast the commander, right? Crit can go ahead and pay for our commander's black pips too, so our commander will essentially be free. Now we are going to be paying a shit ton of life to do this kind of thing, but there is some life gain in the deck, and honestly if you're paying a lot of life to go ahead and end the game out, that's kind of what we're using it for. We do include an Aetherflux Reservoir for that exact reason. That way we can gain life when we cast our commander. Now, I don't want to mislead you guys or get it twisted. This is just going to be a fun rat deck where you can do insane stuff, cast a bunch of rats, and maybe win. It's essentially a meme deck that I'm just going to have fun with. Next up for the blinking shenanigans, we have Sword of Hearthenhome. Not only is this going to ramp us, but it's going to blink our commander and let us find those rats. Lastly, we have Phyrexian Reclamation. There is a cool combo you can do with this. You can pair it with an Ashnod's Altar, which we do run in the deck. Crick will also need to be on the battlefield, but you can sacrifice your commander. That'll net you 2 generic. You can use one of the 2 generic to pay for the Phyrexian Reclamation, and then pay 2 life for the other one using Crick. Now your commander's in your hand, you can use the other generic to cast your commander and then pay an additional 4 life, and boom, for 6 life you can cast your commander as many times as you want. The only problem is that's 6 life, so you know, use it sparingly. Let's move on to the next part of the deck, Rat Synergies. We are running Maronar. Obviously, you know, all rats will have fear, and we can go ahead and sacrifice our rat and then put X rats onto the battlefield where X is the number of rats you control. Honestly, this guy's a staple in any rat deck, and he performs. Piper of the Swarm. This will give our rats menace. Again, our rats will have toxic, so giving them evasion is going to be really useful. Additionally, this guy can create rats, and you can start gaining control of other people's shit as long as you have enough, right? Pack Rat. This one, go ahead, discard a card, and you can create a copy of Pack Rat. And Pack Rat's power will be equal to the number of rats you control, so pretty big. Additionally, remember, he's got that toxic, right? Ogre Slumlord. Again, your rats will have Death Touch. We are just giving them a whole bunch of annoying stuff that our opponents won't want to block. Additionally, whenever another non-token creature dies, we can go ahead and create a rat. Notably, that counts for our opponents too, which is going to be really good when we just start skull clamping these guys. Alright, let's talk about the core of the deck, just some cards that really bring it together. First of all, Aetherflux Reservoir. Obviously, we're going to be paying a lot of life, so this is going to be really good. Diabolic Intent. This will just tutor for any of our insane combos that may or may not happen. This deck's kind of magical Christmas land, but I'm in love with it and we're here for it. Grave Purge. Put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library. Then you get to draw a card. Notably, if we lose all our rats, we're pretty screwed, so this card's going to come in handy. Swiftfoot Boots, this is just going to give our rats protection. Whip of Erebos, again, that lifelink is important. Echoing Return. Again, if all our rats die, we're screwed, so this is going to come in handy. Grey Merchant of Asphodel. This one will be clutch, right? You know how much life we're going to be paying. So every time we bring this guy back to the graveyard, or back from the graveyard, not only will we be draining our opponents, but we're going to be gaining a lot of life. Throoming Stone. This one is honestly just a lot more efficient than the combos in the deck, but let's be honest, the combos are way more fun. Alright guys, let's get into that card draw. We are running Species Specialist. This is just going to be really good because whenever our rats die, we're going to go ahead and draw a card. Gix Yawgmoth Praetor. This guy brings the violence. Everybody's going to be swinging at everybody, which is only going to benefit us, and everybody's going to draw some cards while we're doing it. Additionally, this guy can be a backup plan if the rat plan just, you know, kind of bombs. So we can just start discarding stuff and playing shit for free. Midnight Reaper, we're going to go ahead and sacrifice a rat, draw a card. Pretty easy. Skull Clamp, it's an all-star in the deck because our rats only gain power. Because of the colony rats, they just get power judging on the amount of colony rats there are. But the toughness doesn't change, so we can go ahead and Skull Clamp those off to draw a lot of cards. Dark Prophecy, whenever one of our creatures dies, we're going to go ahead and draw a card. Notably, that doesn't care if it's a token or not, which is going to be pretty useful. One of the best cards in the deck, Yawgmoth Threm Physician, because not only can this draw this card, remove creatures, but it can also proliferate us to the win. Because again, if we get toxic counters on our opponent, we can just start discarding cards and proliferating. Vanquisher's Banner, whenever we cast a rat, we're going to go ahead and draw a card. Additionally, it's going to buff up our rats a little bit. Dread Presence, really good in a mono black deck. It can gain us some life, which again, can get pretty important, and it can draw us some cards. Ad Nauseam. Now you can't call this a turbo rat build without including Ad Nauseam, right? We're trying to fly as close to the sun as possible with this deck. We're risking it all for the rats. Alright, let's go over the ramp in the deck, and notably it's not that big because again, we are just trying to reduce the cost of everything, so it's pretty much covered through that. But we are running Ashnod's Altar, Wayfarer's Bauble, Cabal Stronghold. I know it's a land, but I counted it as a ramp because it's going to go insane in this deck. And then Sword of Forge and Frontier. I really love the design of this sword because not only is it card advantage, but it's also ramp. And if you exile land cards, you'll be able to play the land cards, which is pretty amazing because not a lot of swords synergize with themselves, but this one does, right? Because if you exile 2 lands, boom, you can play both of them. Alright guys, let's wrap it up with the removal. We are running Feed the Swarm. It's not that effective, but it's what we have to use. Baleful Mastery. I really think this card is underrated because I like options, you know? Curtain's Call. This one's really good in a multiplayer format, which Commander is. Drag to the Underworld. This card is almost always going to be reduced to only 2 mana. Go for the Throat, just a classic. Tragic Slip, really good because we can usually decide if something dies or not that turn. Defile, really good in a mono black deck. And Hagra Mauling. This one's really good and should go in a lot of decks just because these MDFCs are really useful and I think they're underplayed. Crippling Fear. I like this one because it's going to get rid of all of the small creatures that aren't our rats, right? That way only the big stuff's left to block, but honestly we should have Menace by then, and if not, we should be attacking with enough rats to get through with at least some of them. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the deck tech. I hope you like these weird decks. I know this isn't going to be the most efficient deck, but let's be honest, Commander's all about having fun, and this deck looks like a lot of fun to me. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out.